You're younger than me, but do you remember Hot or Not? Vice's Hot or Not? I just feel like that made this indelible impression upon my mind.
Right.
Where it's so easy to just be like, hot, not.
Right.
With literally anything that comes up.
It was like swiping before swiping existed.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's hard to let go of that mindset.
Yes.
You know?
It's somewhat gratifying to just, throw it in the bin, be like, okay, nope, yes, nope, yeah.
Because it's an easy way to walk through the world.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? You just distinguish. Boom.
It's very New York too, to be like, all right, I'm done with this. See you later.
Yeah, totally. Because there's so much stimuli, like you have to discard constantly, or else you'll have some sort of like system shutdown.
Yeah. When I forget that when people like visit, they'll tell me about like something crazy they saw someone do on the street, and I was like, that doesn't even register in my mind.
Literally, I remember this one. Okay, I'll tell this story and then I'll introduce the podcast. Yeah, sure. I remember one time I went down to the downtown F line in the station at 14th Street, which has like these funny kind of stairwells and little pockets. And anyway, I'm walking down the platform.
Okay, yeah, I think I know.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And this guy, I turn a little corner and this guy has his dick out.
Yeah.
Right. And he's just working it, And my initial reaction is I said, put that away.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it frickin' worked.
Oh, really? Interesting.
He just needed a little shame.
Yeah. You went like school teacher mode on it.
I went into like school teacher mode and I was just like, put it away.
Yeah.
And then he put his dick away.
Wow. Yeah.
I know.
Shocking. I think probably the psychology of it is he wanted you to be mortified and you were just like,
and I was
outraged.
just like, anyway, so it worked. Hi, my name is Francesca. This is Critical Babe Theory. And this is my guest today, Davidson Boswell, comic, activist.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
No, I think you nailed it. Yeah,
okay.
It's struggle to define yourself. People like in a blurb. I guess you're an actor, so you have to do that constantly.
No, I think like existentially defining oneself all the time is exhausting and sort of gets one away from the real source of the problem, which is just being in the world, not defining oneself.
I agree with that completely, and especially as you attend parties, meet people, they're like, "What do you do?" And you're like, "Well, that's kind of hard to distill your entire existence down to one sentence." But you find yourself doing it constantly, especially in entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a party a couple nights ago, and the way I circumvent that is I just ask people incredibly detailed questions about their day.
Oh, wow.
And then actually enjoy the answers. And that sort of works.
Yeah. You're like, oh, did you scramble the eggs or did you fry them?
Exactly. And like, why do you like those? Like, you can really, and the thing is that everybody just wants to be asked questions about themselves.
I think that's the truth. Yeah.
And so like I can talk.
Thanks for having me on the pod. By the
way. Exactly. Right. And like, I just love like, inquisitiveness greases the social wheels literally for eternity.
I was he's not going to win. I'm not going to say his name, but this politician that's running for New York 12, so that narrows it down, the district that you're in right now.
Against Jerry Nadler?
Yeah. I think so. He wants to be a representative, and all he did was talk about himself the entire time we were together. And I was like, what was the point of this? You asked me to be near you, and you're just talking about yourself constantly.
Aren't you supposed to be representative? And the way one represents is by getting information from others, right?
Yeah, so it's very telling. I think a lot of politicians are just kind of trying to get to the next level so that they can introduce themselves to more and more people constantly. Which is like really pathetic, but whatever.
But it also kind of reminds me of, it's like this, it's correlate to this thing with dating where people are like, there's like this higher echelon, better echelon of person I could meet. And it's like this optimization thing. It's as if for the politicians that like there's some class of people, I guess like the Epstein class, who would be more interesting or compelling or of better quality, when in reality, like all people are of equal quality and interest if you have the right kind of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've taken mushrooms once in your life, essentially. But I think that's a really good point, because there is no plateau, and you see when people do reach the plateau, they're like, well, I have to have sex with kids to make myself feel anything. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, I don't know what kind of podcast
this is. No, you can
say
that. I mean, I have a different opinion. I'm like very much in the pedophilia is a genetic disorder. Have you heard about this?
Maybe, but like, why is it so prevalent in the, billionaire class? Or the like upper socialite. Yeah.
Sad
Does
truth.
That mean pedophiles or go-getters? Like, what is that? Like, yeah.
I don't think it's more prevalent in the upper class. I think it's prevalent everywhere.
I mean, if you read like Greek literature, that's for damn sure. You know what I mean? Like it used to be
like a social moray thing.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Where it was like
even the samurais, the Romans, all of them. But it's like So you think it's a genetic disorder? I mean, there's certainly truth to that. Like, you can't help who you're attracted to. But I feel like when you get to the top level of society and you can have anything on demand, everything becomes boring. And so you're like, all right, I have to do this incredibly fucked up wrong thing in order to...
I feel like this is going to get me canceled, and I really shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Right.
I like Megyn Kelly. Think there is a difference between... Like, a true pedophile, to me, is somebody who likes prepubescent children, which I believe that is linked from what I've read and understand. That does link and have a genetic component.
You mean like a phebophile, like people who like 14 to 17-year-olds.
To me, that is a different phenomenon. And that it may be true that that's more prevalent with billionaires because they can like get away with shit. So I can't speak to that. I'm talking about like true pedophilia. I can't believe this is the one that's going.
This is the part that's going on Instagram, by the way. It will get a lot of views.
I know. I don't want to. And look, I just think that there is a distinction between true pedophilia and liking basically like not of age girls.
Well, I mean, you watch any movie from the 70s and 80s, people are always being like, oh man, 16-year-old girl. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, it was so common in the culture.
It was culturally common. And whereas I do think that most people, the prospect, oh God, I cannot believe, it's like Saturday morning before Christmas. And this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. I think most people are not like, I want to have sex with children. Like that is on a bell curve that is fucking far over.
Yeah.
Whereas,
do they like even think of it that way? Probably not. You know.
But I think it's like, whereas I think a lot of men, I'm sorry, would theoretically in a no problem kind of way be like like if there were no consequences, a 16-year-old.
Well, that's what like Jeffrey Epstein provided, was this frictionless, consequenceless, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is a Ukrainian girl, you know?
Whose parents are dead, and nobody will ever know about it. I do think that a much larger percentage of the male population would be interested in that than in actual pedophilia. That's why I think they're distinct.
Yeah. If truth serum is real, that'd be an interesting social experiment. Take 100 dudes and be like, how many of them would say yes? Yeah.
Because it's like, I also think it's somewhat biological.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, who do we want to have sex with? People that we can reproduce with, because that's literally what animals have been doing for millennia. That's what keeps the world spinning. And you know who's going to most likely give you a baby, unfortunately?
Very young girl?
Is a 16-year-old.
Yes.
Just statistically speaking.
That's true. When you hear about this, like Martin Luther, his wife had...
Like the original
children,
like
the
the
one
99 Theses. Got it.
But his wife had 16 kids, and you just think about like
that's start them young.
That's being pregnant like every 10 months, essentially, for like 20 straight years. Yeah.
I mean, as somebody who wishes they had more children, I get it. I can't say I get 16, but like 4 to 5 today is like the ultimate flex.
Is that because you want to secretly want to be a homesteader and like have them work on the farm?
I'm an out trad wife. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am like
raw milk.
I love raw milk.
I love raw milk.
I love making shit from scratch. When I saw Nara Smith, I mean, I've said this on the podcast before, but when I saw Nara Smith, I was like, I get it. I was like, I mean, I don't do my cooking in couture because that's stupid. Like, you don't want to have to wash organza after you like make a pie.
I see like a pure silk gown and she's like got flour on her fingers.
It's
I'm
crazy.
Like, how does that?
No, I mean, that I would never do because I take care of my things.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But like, I get it. I mean, but it's like sort of akin to this back to the land, you know, this rejection of technology and I want to say rejection of materialism, although like the trad wife content obviously
it's also
has
content,
like a huge,
right?
It's content and there's like huge marketability issues, like especially like with the ballerina farms chick who like sells all. Do you know about her?
I think so.
She's kind of like the or trad wife who has like a whole business affiliate with the like Living Simply, so it's like she's selling all these products. So of course
it's like Honest Tea, like
Yeah.
Jessica Alba, you know. Like, it's like, this has 30 grams of sugar. But yeah, I kind of get it. But yeah, that's the pressure of making content in general, which is what we're doing now. Is like you're eventually going to hit this like stratosphere where they're going to be like, okay, well, do you want to like become a brand? Do you want to like be mass marketable? Which is crazy. You know what I mean? Like Revolution TM would be my, you know what I mean? Like that would be very like.
That's a great.
Yeah.
I might make that the title.
Right. Yeah.
Episode.
Okay. Yeah. Please.
Revolution
Trademark
TM.
Revolution. Yeah. Because it is like, oh, it's just the way that people think about like making content because it's such capitalist realism. There is no reason to do it besides to make yourself famous and then to cash out in some sort of like merch line. What you said, like ballerina farm. Yeah. Right. So I don't know. Like you're kind of.
Are you telling me that I'm a sellout?
No, not at all. I'm saying like this is the fun part, the come up. But I think there's going to be pressure eventually if I succeed, you succeed. You know what I mean? To be like, okay, well, so what's the vision? You know what I mean?
But I think that both of us, if I may, I don't know you that well. I think both of us are irrationally, perhaps perversely dedicated to principle.
Yeah.
In a way that is some people might label egoistic or destructive.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, there's also like your family looks at it and you're like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Like you're shutting all these avenues off to yourself by being so strident on certain things like Palestine or like how fucked up the ruling class is. It's like because they're the ones that own all the companies that can give you money. So it's you kind of you might have to become a trad wife. You might not have an option. You know what I mean? Like it might be.
But I mean, I think there is a world in which like all I wanted was to be a trad wife. You know, and it's so funny because like in our first episode, which was called like, why won't the left let me be a trad wife? Sarah, my original co-host, she made this joke. She was like, well, it's not really the left who won't let you be a trad wife. It's your ex-husband.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. If you want to call him the left. Yeah. And by the left, I mean Gary. That's funny. Yeah,
maybe to set
the left
stage.
grounded me tonight. Yeah. My fucking mom. Yeah.
But maybe to set the stage a little bit, can you talk about your background and how you got into the work you're doing before we kind of launch into what that work is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from the South, and I started out as a stand-up comedian after I went to college. I studied history in college. I was really fascinated by it. And I did comedy for about 8 years. And when October 7th happened, on October 8th, I realized that there was this level of cowardice in the comedy community where people were not going to talk about the wholesale destruction of Palestine. They were going to continue to just turn a blind eye to the unfolding genocide. And I realized, all this talk about like, I'm a free speech warrior. I can say whatever I want.
As a comic specifically
is not true. You know, you need to kind of step away from it for a second and be like, okay, what are my morals? So I began to like speak out online about that. And then because that was so radicalizing, I was also like, okay, how did the world allow this to happen? Why are all liberal institutions running interference for the Israeli government right now? So then I started being like, okay, I should start critiquing capitalism as well. And these critiques started to go viral on the internet. My name is Davidson Boswell on Instagram. And people saw that, and activists started being attracted to what I was doing. So it was kind of for all the evils of the internet, it brought me into contact with people who are more aligned with my vision. And a lot of activists are attracted to the arts, you know, yourself included. And
are you classing me as an activist?
I would say so. I think I saw your play, and it's hard to say that isn't an activist play. That has a political bent to it.
Yes, of course.
So it just happened that I like met someone on the street, Teddy, who worked for this organization, Planet Over Profit, which does direct action work, like confronting billionaires to their face, blockading roads. They'll like go to a private airport and not allow planes to land. They'll sit on the runway. It's really, really like powerful stuff.
Just to clarify for people, so a direct action is opposed to like letter writing or some
like,
kind of
lobbying, you know.
But a direct action is where you like actually go to a place and you do something in the physical space with people who have power to like protest what they're doing. I feel like that's a really bad explanation.
No, that's like really accurate.
Okay.
It is essentially not doing a petition, not letter writing, not calling your senator. It's like not allowing them to leave their parking space, you know?
So
like,
they're directly confronted with whatever it is that you're bringing to them, that they can't sort of just ignore and like not see the email, not look at the petition, not listen to their constituents.
Precisely. And we are in the second civil rights era, and it's much more existential this time because it is complete planetary collapse under climate change. You know what I mean? Like it was the 70s when oil companies started like seeing all the data. They were like, oh, if we continue to do this, we're gonna like make the earth uninhabitable, and they just buried it, ignored it. So they've known about it since then, and it's of course aligned with all these different causes: police brutality, imperialist violence, the right to abortion. All these things are like part of a larger theme of the ruling class just keeping its boot on our neck and continuing to press down until there's no oxygen left.
I want to go back a little bit.
Sure.
No, there's so much to talk about here. But for you, like, truly October 8th, you saw the stuff about Gaza and like had an experience, or did it take a little bit of time?
Well, I already knew that it was an apartheid state.
Okay, great. So that was not just like your first awakening around it.
I went to Jordan in 2013 and went to the Dead Sea, and it was the first time I saw people like cross the Dead Sea, and like they would get out of the sea, and I'd be like, "Where are you from?" And they're like, "Palestine," you know. And I was like, "Okay, but that's Israel over there." But it wasn't always Israel. It was these were like the sons and daughters of the people that were displaced in the Nakba. So, and I guess it came off as super callous of me to say, oh man, like how are people surprised by October 7th, right? Like what did you expect? You've been like suppressing these people, keeping them in cages, torturing them, killing their relatives for 70 years now. Of course there's going to be this huge conflagration, but we don't live in a culture that has a lot of historical context. We feel like we've like emerged from like clay, you know, we were sculpted, and I just don't think people were ready to hear it. So I think we talked about this when we met the first time, but you do have to be prepared to like lose friends and stuff like that if you're gonna like make something this is gonna fall. You know, if you say something like that, appearing. What's the word? You're like really being callous. You're really being like, oh, I don't care the way this is the truth, and it's gonna hurt, you know, but this is the way it is.
So you would take issue with, you know, what I find so interesting is that every time I read in mainstream media, anytime I read any criticism of Israel, it always has to start with like this long kind of mea culpa around how it's like what a tragedy October 7th was and all of that. And it's like only if you check a number of boxes, and I'm not making a comment on this or not. I'm not saying, I'm just like presenting what I've seen. Right. Which is like, you have to check these boxes of giving all this credit to Israel before you can even launch into your argument. Yeah. And it sounds like you didn't necessarily do that.
Yeah, that's precisely right. Okay. I wasn't like, and they're the only democracy in the Middle East, and they're our greatest ally, and it's terrible what happened, but they are committing war crimes in Gaza.
So you just went straight to the war crimes. And do you think that's why you lost friends?
I think that, and also I think, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, I think comedy, acting, you're supposed to have a level of artifice and irony around what you say. You present things in a kind of distorted way, you know, so that like you hint at where your politics are, or you kind of like through subtext or irony, you're like, this is, and I was kind of just being like, no, I'm removing all the artifice. This is exactly what I think, you know what I mean? And it was very, very like in your face. And I would make fun of like the IDF soldiers in like November, you know what I mean? And just how like they were presenting themselves as like these heroic people, you know? And people really took issue with that. But what's so great is now anyone under the age of like 56 has woken up to this, and they're like, wow. And they've kind of come around. And I'm not saying I'm like patting myself on the back or anything, but it was just really interesting being ahead of where the culture was for that time in my life. And I think it's like a testament to like, if you like what Rob Reiner said, something like RIP, he was like, if it's like true to yourself, it's probably true to someone else too. Like, so if you're just like,
what an amazing Rob Reiner tie-in.
Yeah. But it's like, so you're like speaking straight from the heart. It's really something that's been boiling up inside of you. You snap eventually. You're like, I can't believe all you fucking hypocrites, you people that claim to be liberal. And I think it's just so refreshing. And I think people can tell that you actually meant it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what's so interesting to me is because I think a lot about like something that I lamented or I did not think was a good idea is specifically a lot of the student groups and universities, like the statements they released on late October 7th, October 8th, which like praised the military action or whatever, the terrorist action by Hamas. Because I think and the way I'm trying to maybe work this out in my head real time as I'm talking to you is like there's the pragmatic approach to a conflict like this, where I think it would have been pragmatic for the organizations and the institutions to not have been like, Allah Akbar, thank God they killed all these Israeli civilians and just like gone straight to the celebrating. I think it would have been much more prudent had they like chilled on the response, because then they could have kept hearts and minds to then be like, yo, but Israel is committing war crimes. But what's interesting is like in this, like if we're thinking like of a bell curve of culture, there have to be people on the edges.
Yeah,
like because you do not speak for an institution, right?
Yeah,
you are an activist revolutionary. And so you're actually it's important that there are people like you, right?
Yeah.
Who are not beholden to any kind of softening or accommodation, who don't have to be pragmatic necessarily.
Anything like, and if anybody in an organization knows this, an email or a statement is reworked like 20, 30 times by different people in the organization, and it's defanged by its very nature.
But they weren't after October 7th.
That's interesting.
They were fucking out, and I was like, bro,
that's crazy. Yeah.
Chill on your statements, dudes.
Right.
Like, it's not a good look. And I mean, and this kind of gets to, I hope you don't get mad at me. Like, I don't use from the river to the sea.
Okay.
Not because I think it's immoral or something. It's a verb phrase or like a noun phrase, but just because I feel like it's controversial enough that it wouldn't serve the political purpose that I'm interested in.
Right. I don't know. Like, I think it's really it's powerful language because it's like from the river to the sea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Evocative language.
Yeah. So, but I'm not mad at you about that. Yeah, I just like, I don't know, like who are the people when you soften your language that you're trying to appeal to? Are they the people that have never ever given an inch of their power once? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know when I like am less strident, when I'm less blunt, who I'm softening my language for.
But that's, I guess my point is like, you function, we all serve a different purpose in this.
Sure, yeah.
You are different than an organization affiliate. Yes, exactly. We all have different roles to play. And I guess I feel like it's important that we all play our roles, and it makes sense, the stridency of your position. But I do feel like a mistake early on that a lot of organizations who are pro-Palestine made who are like part of some bigger institutional thing, is they got too strident too fast, which lost hearts and minds, which then made the fight for recognizing what was happening in Gaza, like, it delayed it.
Yeah, because I mean, the media is powerful in this way, is they will, if you give them an opening, they will turn it into the story, right? Yeah. So the story was no longer like, why did this happen?
Or
it was
children are being carpet bombed.
Right. It's like, look at the way the left reacted to this. They're so radical. Like, and then you can scare the people who watch CNN and Fox News into being like, oh, there's a radical element in the American left, and we have to really stand with Israel and beat back this tide of...
So that's exactly why I think more institutional voices do need to be very smart and pragmatic. And I sort of feel like Zohran has done a pretty good job of, And I also just feel like this is similar with like Globalized, the Intifada is just like, he just doesn't, it's just not a necessary phrase. Is it wrong or bad? I just don't know that it's helpful that like people who are trying to make change from within the institution versus like you are trying to press from the outside, you're pressing on the edges of the institution. Like there are different functions, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. I just like, I guess one of my big like theories of change is to get people to realize that the people who make the rules are, and Jeffrey Epstein, to bring it back to that, is a great example of like, are amoral people that believe in their own power. They are not like, they're setting the world order, the war crimes, what defines terrorism versus a freedom fighter, you know what I mean? And like they themselves are fucked up, you know? So to like you're talking about the institutional language and stuff like that, the institutions need to crumble and go away, you know? But I'm also not so idealistic that I'm like, yeah, like let's get rid of the Federal Reserve, like let's go back to like barter trade. So, like
you're
know
not
what I mean?
an
Like,
anarchist.
yeah, I'm not. No, I believe that there needs to be like some level of structure to society, but it is fascinating. Like it's fascinating to me that organizations like the ADL or the DNC, you know, want to try and hold these two things together. They want to be like, we're for human rights, but we also think that you should like watch what you say when it comes to the killing of men, women, and children. Like you need to like say it the right way. Don't be so strident. Don't show images, right? That's bad for the cause. Because I'm like, well, then you invalidate your entire existence essentially by doing that.
The DNC invalidates itself by saying it's pro-human rights, but being supportive of Israel. Yeah. I mean, there's a huge conflict of interest there. Does the DNC, I mean, are they just afraid? Okay, I can say something. I think I got this information on background, so I can say this.
Ooh, wow.
But,
exclusive. Yeah.
Exclusive on background, where you have to trust Francesca that she understood what somebody was telling her. But I was talking to somebody, I'll just say like in the political sphere, who was saying like basically for politicians, their involvement, the way they're controlled by AIPAC and thus by the Israeli government is sort of like the mob, where like
it's like a loan.
It's like basically once you've gotten that money, like he's like, I've witnessed, like this
the devil
person
went down to Georgia kind of vibe.
Just like I've witnessed people like change their tack real time, like change their position on something because they received a phone call in the middle of it and told them to change direction, you know?
Totally.
And I think a lot about, because people are so into conspiracy theories, which I totally get. I get why I mean, like there are I was talking about the Daikon shield, I think on the last couple episodes. Do you know what that is? It's a form of birth control that they gave women in the 70s, which permanently made them infertile and killed some women. But then what did they do? They just took those extra Daikon shields that had been made illegal in the United States and they just took them to Africa and killed women. You know what I mean? So it's like, obviously conspiracy is real.
Right.
You know?
The Tuskegee experiment.
Yeah, it's like there's just right and left. But I was thinking about I was like, okay, so why is Israel so deeply involved in like everything? Do you know what I mean? And I was just thinking like, well, I don't think, because I feel like I am just very sensitive to anti-Semitism because of the family I grew up in and whatever, all this stuff. So I'm like, it's just, I guess my thought that I've been having recently is like, it's just like, if you are powerful, then you're going to do all the smartest shit to stay in power. Yeah. And it's just that like Israel is powerful. They have I think they feel somewhat, maybe rightly, like they have an existential risk, which is they're a tiny country with a small population in the middle of a relatively hostile surrounding geopolitical situation. So they're just going to do whatever they need to do to survive. And they just happen to be like very good at it.
I know, but it's like it comes from a position of supremacy because their two biggest industries are like technology and weapons, which I guess are one and the same. And if you read the Palestine Laboratory,
what's that?
Like it's a book where they like talk about how amazing it is to have basically a lawless, like, you are not prosecuted for the war crimes you do there, so you can test weapons.
Oh God,
on
this is
people.
so dark. Yeah,
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Okay, well, sorry, but
no,
like,
it's true.
Yeah,
To me, that would be like, I guess what I'm saying is like, I think there's obviously with like Tucker Carlson interviewing Nick Fuentes, but just like, it's so interesting because now Tucker Carlson is doing all this like pro-Palestinian public speaking.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's like a lot of people who are like looking for an excuse to shit on Jewish people are using this.
But I just like, to me, there's nothing integral about like the Jewishness of Israel. It's just like, yes, it's like empire. Like
if you think of yourself as superior, though, I think like it justifies doing fucked up shit. You know what I mean? Like, and I think America shares that ideology. They're like, we are a moral nation. We think of ourselves that way. So when we do something, it's like, yeah, but we had to. Because
you know what's interesting is sort of like, I feel like America used to feel that way, but like that has been sort of frayed at the edges
Iraq,
after like all
Abu
of
Ghraib,
so it's interesting. I wonder if like Israel has taken up the psychic mantle of the nation of the world who feels that they are justified to do anything.
Yeah, that's a good.
You know what I mean?
I'm with that.
That like it transfers,
right?
You know, like somebody has to be in this delusion of justification around empire and violence, and maybe it's not us anymore.
Well, we're all going into Venezuela.
Yeah,
you know?
I know. I wanted to talk talk about that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't get it because aren't we pumping so much oil here, and oil is at a historic low of crude, the price per barrel? Like, what is going on?
I know. Well, I have a theory, and I don't know if it's true, but have you traveled to South America at all? Have you been to?
No, only Central America.
Okay, only Central America. Well, I feel like Cuba is a big thorn in the eye of America and has been for a long time because they have a higher life expectancy than the United States, more doctors per capita,
better aesthetics with their cars and music,
and they're like cooler looking. But they also have a higher literacy rate and also with a higher poverty rate. So that must mean that something is going pretty good there. You know what I mean? There's obviously horrible problems, but they all kind of stem from sanctions, right? So
it's also just, I just want to say, because I was listening to your videos about this, islands are hard because you have to import a bunch of stuff
so
because you can't grow a lot of like if you go to Hawaii, or if you even go, I think I had a cousin of mine lived in like American Samoa, like they just literally don't grow that much stuff there. So you have to import a ton.
Almost everything. Yeah. So one of the biggest trading partners is Venezuela. So if you take out Venezuela, you also take out Cuba, you know? So it's kind of like,
So you feel like in the psychic landscape of America, we need Cuba to be destroyed, and that's part of what's the motivating force for Venezuela?
I do. I think like a big part of living in America is being told that this is the only option. This is the only way we can live. Yeah. And like, but even like, just crazy capitalism where it's like not even
unleashed capitalism unleashed,
right? It's like you get nothing for your taxes, you know. You're like, unless you're super rich, and then you get everything. But it's capitalism unleashed. But I think like it's going to be really interesting because another thing about October 7th, the war in Venezuela, what's happening in the economy right now is every day in every way, you know, you're being lied to, and that's such a like it just wears you out.
Every day in every way, you know, you're being lied to, meaning like the average American citizen. Yeah.
And I think like if you're still buying the rah America, like we're going to go in there, kick some ass and like
in Venezuela.
It's like, what?
Nobody's buying that.
Yeah. It's like, are you like inhaling lead paint every day? Like what is possibly happening to where you still believe that? So it's just demoralizing to live like in a state where you're like, okay, I know that's a lie, but I also don't want to like have a public meltdown in a grocery store. You know what I mean? Like, so you just kind of like trudge on in constant diminishment. And I don't mean to say like, this probably makes me sound like I'm clinically depressed or something like that, but I'm just like, I guess my theory of change as like someone who aspires to be a revolutionary is that I want people to realize that this is not the only way. And Cuba is a really great example of how this is not the only way.
I feel like saying to most people that Cuba is a really great example is going to make them not want to do it.
Yeah. What do you mean, like Cuba?
I just mean like rolling blackouts. Rolling blackouts.
I know, because people don't have the historical context. They only can like see Cuba in its like current iteration. They don't know why the blackouts are happening, which is like lack of fuel, lack of infrastructure because of all the sanctions. So Yeah. The problem is, like, and this is where I really defer with people online, is they're like, no, Russia and China are better. I'm like, I don't want to live there either.
Bro,
you know?
I know. When anybody, well, first of all, I mean, like, obviously for the American Communist Party, like, Russia was always presented as a, like, you know, a potential paradise. And then, of course, after the USSR fell, I just know a lot of people who come from the former USSR and they, like, fucking hate communism, and they were like, that shit sucked.
Yes.
And then, so I'm not into Russia from that perspective, although I do love Russian literature. And but with China, I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I had some friends who like lived in China, and they were like, no, it's great, bro. And I was like,
really?
Yeah, they were like, I can use the internet whenever I want. And I was like, that's because you're white, fool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to live in a totalitarian state. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's just not my bag. You know what I mean? And people try to sell. It's like, because it's like communism, but without communism, with capitalism. And it's just like, that's not a bill of goods I'll buy. So for you, you're like, most people would say Denmark, but for you, you're like Cuba.
Yeah. Well, I mean, remember, but it is interesting, like Trump's theory of change is he wanted to take Greenland. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's interesting that you say Denmark, and it's like, he's just basically like trying to be like a president from the 1800s, where like,
totally
get out of my part of the world, you know? Like,
this I think it's glam for him.
Very much so. He wants to put like Trump on, like, I don't know, the Venezuelan capital. It's all like kind of like 4-year-old boy behavior, where like if somebody else has something, you want to take it from them.
But I also feel like the left does need to speak about, like, Maduro is a nightmare. Now, I do not support or believe in regime change. I think that's a terrible idea. It clearly hasn't worked in the past, but like, he is a freaking nightmare.
Well, yeah, and I don't know.
He's not some hero.
No,
you know?
I mean, like, but that's the problem. I think like that represents an ideological divide where a lot of people are like, well, there are things that are closer to the ideal that we're striving for, which is like, you know, universal health care, universal bill of human rights. Everybody gets housing and water and food, and I think like, yeah, so some people will be like, yeah, Maduro is a better person than Trump or something like that. And I'm just like, no, it's just we have no good example worldwide to look to. And some people, because you talk about like, yeah, Europe is incredibly aspirational in a way. Like, I would rather be in a Swedish prison than a New York City apartment. You know what I mean? Like, it's really nice over there.
Yeah,
but,
totally.
Yeah. It's like, oh man,
you'll learn all these skills.
Oh yeah, exactly. They're like, do you want to know how to embroider? You know, I'm like, yeah. But they forget that like Europe exists in its iteration because of the American military, right? Like Russia would take it back if we didn't have a fuck ton of missiles pointed at Russia. So
you think they're like kind of on this like little soft playground they get to make, where they get to make their democratic socialist, like soft capitalism.
You were in Secession, but do you remember? I forget what season it was, but Logan Roy's wife says to Shiv, she's like, your dad has built you this little playground and you think it's the whole world, you know? And I think like, and it's like, I feel like a lot of nations live in a manufactured playground, and I'm
manufactured by the good old US,
by the superpowers of the world, you know? And like everybody lives in this limbo, you know?
Except fucking Cuba. They're the lone wolf.
I think it's amazing what Cuba has accomplished, even though it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, would I want to live there? I'm not sure, you know?
Let's go. I want to go to Cuba. I've always wanted to go because I used to
do a pod from Cuba. Be like in the dark, you know? Like it's like, can we get a generator to plug this into? Like night vision goggles on. We're like, reporting live from Havana.
Honestly, I would love to. I've always wanted to go to Cuba because I used to take, this is embarrassing. Cuban salsa. I used to do Cuban salsa as a teenager.
That. It's funny.
Yeah. Which is like, and also, Cuban music, everything about Cuba is great. So let's do it. Let's go.
Okay, all right,
we can get
great.
we'll report back on the ground.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be. All right,
you can see like never meet. We can either have the never meet your heroes experience, or we can have the like truly this is paradise.
Yeah, I know. We could be like, oh my god, the lies we're being told. But that's the other thing. Like, I want to visit all these places because I want to know, because American propaganda is so fucking powerful. It's like I want to go to Iran. You know what I mean? Like Tehran, probably. And I want
hella good food.
Yeah, absolutely. Like. But it's just fascinating to.
Although, wait, hold up. I do not want to live in Iran.
I
That
know,
sounds
me
like
neither.
a
Me neither. Me
nightmare.
neither. I like. That's the thing is like, James Baldwin said this, but like, I love America, so I have to criticize it. You know what I mean? Like, I have to. And do I love America? No, but but he's like, but it's
See,
like,
I do love America.
Yeah.
I feel like very much like a red-blooded American.
Right.
And I think that it is an interesting karmic journey for America to try to live up to the ideals it set forth
right.
in its inception.
Yes.
And to me, that
it
is
was
like,
a lie then, and it's a lie now. You know what I mean?
but it is still an aspiration that I
Totally.
think has much merit to be worked toward.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's like there is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness if you can afford it. Essentially, you know, what I mean? Which is that should be the whole quote, you know. But yeah. So you have to like. It's really interesting that people conflate not being a patriot with like vociferously, relentlessly criticizing America because it's the only way. And it's kind of like, to your point, that is exactly how I view myself. I know that I'm like outside of the Overton window, and I'm trying to yank it towards myself.
Great, and I think that is like somebody has to serve that function,
right? And the fact that I look like I was born on a golf cart, you know what I mean? Like, is like a perfect, like, it makes me such an effective messenger for this.
I know. I kind of feel like getting into it,
and like you, like. As well.
We could get in a dick measuring contest. I am a 10th generation American.
Okay, nice. I have no idea. I think I'm like 7th. Yeah.
Okay, so I win.
Yeah. That's going back to Mayflower, like a little bit.
Old, the worst, worst kind.
Right.
So I do feel, like perhaps a generational duty.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what
and it's
I mean?
like, and you can be this kind of like, atom bomb planted in the center of the establishment that like starts to like start the chain reaction, because it's like my theory of change. I keep saying that.
No, I want to hear. I want to hear about
because you would be effective at this. And once you solve your trouble, like you can. I don't know how much your audience knows about it, but once that's all smoothed over, you can do it too. Where like you betray people's expectations of you, right? So there's this criticism that like. A lot of the actions that
I wanted to get into this. Yeah. Specifically, I feel like you did an action within the last, was it like a month ago?
Yeah.
At the Met Opera, the opening of the Met Opera. Yeah. And you all interrupted the performance for how long?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then people lost their minds. The internet lost its mind.
Yeah. They were very upset with us. But so I'm white. The people that did that action with me were white. Mm-hmm. We shut down a version of Carmen at the Met Opera, which Carmen is a
opera by Bizet.
I think so. Yeah. And it's about I think you call them Romani now. You don't say gypsy anymore, but it's about a Romani woman who falls in love with a fascist soldier in Spain in the 1800s, and. It's been repurposed multiple times. This current iteration has gotten panned by critics, and it's so.
Isn't it about ICE?
It's
something?
about an ICE border agents at a factory at the southern border, and a Mexican woman falls in love with an ICE agent. Essentially,
I would think that the woke left, liberal left, would be lapping this shit up.
Well, I think it's. Under Biden, under maybe even like Barack Obama,
okay,
it would be like, yes, ICE is fucked up, but we're liberals, so we have the right president in, so whatever. And there weren't these like in-your-face raids where they were like throwing people in the back of vans. Now it's jarring.
So it seems like in poor taste.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it's like kind of like a whitewashing. I even am like, why is this normalized? And the reason we disrupted it is it was held at the Lincoln Center. The Lincoln Center is financed by the men who are the reason that ICE exists. Essentially, they're behind the
Koch brothers.
Yeah.
Wait, how are they the men that?
They're the primary funders of Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is the pretty much ideological. They're the brains of the right wing movement in the United States
Of the last 20 years.
Of the last 20, 30 years, right? And they were born out of the John Birch Society, which was the predecessor to that. That's where like. All these really dark
Burroughs? No, that's wrong. That's not his name. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
But there's this hidden dimension of power. It's not even well hidden, but it is like the Cato Institute, they're the reason Charlie Kirk exists. They're the reason Tucker
Well,
Carlson got
he
like
doesn't exist anymore, Davidson.
And you know what? Erica Kirk is running with that mantle now. Great Mother of the Year, Erica Kirk. There for her kids. But I'm just saying, like, so these things have to, like, in order to have masked agents ripping people out, you have to stomp the grass down ideologically. You have to make room in the country for something that jarring. You have to lay the groundwork intellectually.
Well, I think putting kids in cages during the first administration really raised the bar
exactly
of what sort of unacceptable behavior.
Exactly. So you make the one sheeter, you're like, this is the organization.
And who helped ICE with that? McKinsey.
Yeah, McKinsey
McKinsey helped ICE optimize their operations. Now, this was longer ago. This was before the first Trump turn.
That's
but
crazy.
you know what their big efficiency recommendation was to ICE? Feed the children who were there in detainment less food. And that would be a great cost-saving measure.
That is capitalism for you, That's like, if you look at people on like ledgers like that, everybody's just a bead in the abacus. Yep. But so we did that because they are fun. And and what you said is true. Like, liberals should lap this up because this is ostensibly a criticism of ICE and the cruelty of ICE. That's what the opera is about. It's like, it's supposed to like be an indictment of these like cruel policies, keeping kids in cages. They're singing kids in cages in the opera. It's very in poor taste, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. So it's like,
I'm almost kind of amazed and in awe. Whenever somebody does anything in really poor taste, which like people just don't do as much anymore, like not out and out the way like John Waters like relished poor taste.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay, but anyway. So
like you don't get to take money from the people who are behind ICE and criticize it, right? It's like, it's hypocrisy of the highest order. And the reason most of my disruptions are straight at powerful people, and
i.e. you'll go to a party as a guest and then stand up and make a little toast speech.
A fake toast. Like, for instance, criticizing Lee Zeldin, right? He was giving a speech at the Cancer Gala. He's the head of the EPA. He's rolling back all these environmental regulations that are going to give people cancer. For him to accept an award on like saying like he's a cancer fighter is so fucking ridiculous. And anybody who's in that room deserves to also be ridiculed because they're helping to normalize this in society. Now, the reason we got so much criticism is these are artists performing
at the Met Opera.
And the people in the crowd are also there to just have a night out on the town, right? And there's no specific powerful person we're going after. We're going after a person who's not even there, Charles Koch. He's somewhere.
But his name is on the wall.
His name is on the wall. His brother's name, who's dead, but it's still like
they're related.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, and the Koch network is still very much active, right? So we basically fucked these people's nights up, right? And the thing that I think is going to prevent actual change from happening in this country is liberals prioritize their own comfort over essentially everything else.
I was canvassing after you did the action at the Met, and then people were getting their panties all in a twist about it.
Yep.
I canvassed a bunch of people about it, and everybody was like, very dismissive. Everybody was like, that's just not an effective way to create change. But everybody I asked didn't ever present me with an alternative. And I guess my feeling is like, okay, great.
Right.
Who fucking cares? So People's Night got a little mixed up. The performers like, oh, they got scared. You know, I just feel like it takes this is sort of back to my theory of pragmatic. I guess my theory of change is pragmatic, meaning like everybody fulfills a different function, right? So like I have an idea of what my function is, your function, institutional functions. But it's like sometimes shows are going to have to be interrupted. Is that the only kind of climate action or protest that should happen? No, but it is one kind.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like this idea that we're going to relegate what is acceptable to raise people's consciousnesses around what's happening, that it could only be the smallest, that it could only be like a Times op-ed or a little piece of art, is sort of like a delusional misunderstanding of the stakes of the situation.
Right. And I don't think like there's ever been a movement that succeeded without direct action, without like actually like confronting power. And this is just another like way of shaking people awake. And I'm sorry, like the people who are now held up as like the paragons of excellence in the civil rights movement, when they were assassinated, they were the least popular people.
I know,
in the
and then
country,
I know they always. It's like we all forget that. Like I can never remember how to pronounce this word. Hagiography. Like everyone's like MLK, we love him, and it's like
70% of the country hated him when he was.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we can soften all the edges, make it look like you put Vaseline over the camera, everything's soft and nice.
Yeah.
But like his ideas were radical, and many of them were discarded in his legacy, like, or at least the way that, I'm just going to talk about white people, the way that like white people have made him acceptable. I'm sure there's a huge number of his thoughts that were like sort of conveniently excised from that. What were you saying he was talking about it towards the end of his life?
So the end of his life, he was basically saying that, and this is the final book he wrote, which I encourage everybody to read. I don't remember what it's called, which is inconvenient. But he was basically saying that capitalism had to be dismantled and we had to go towards socialism if we were ever going to have equality.
Yeah.
And again, this is always when civil rights leaders are killed, is when they're like, if they stop being like, fuck white people, and they're like, no, let's all get on the same side and go against the capitalist class, that's when the bullets come. Every time. Yeah. That's what Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, when he went to Mecca and came back, and he was like, I felt kinship with blonde-haired, blue-eyed people because we were both there on a spiritual mission, and I felt bonded to them dead. You know, and then Fred Hampton like got really quick. He's like, we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism. We're going to fight it with socialism. Dead. You know, so I'm not comparing myself at all to those people. They've done like more in like 1 month of their life than I'll do in my entire life. But I'm saying, like, because we look the way we do, we can be. There isn't this like dismissal outright. Like, they won't stop us at the door. We'll be able to get into their halls of power, say it to their face, and then they look at our backgrounds and they're like, oh, well, why? Like, I think it's more scary to them and less easily dismissed if, and this is why I think it's incumbent upon white people to be the leaders of the climate protest movement, because it's like, they're the ones that the system was designed to protect, which is why people fucking freaked out when Charlie Kirk got shot, because it's like everything is set up to make sure a guy like that stays alive and is able to spew hate. The system is also set up for people who look like me, but I'm going to say the opposite of what he's saying. And I don't think I'll be assassinated or anything like that, but I do think it's like really jarring to people. You know what I mean? Which is why like there needs to be like 100,000 of me, you know what I mean? 100,000 of you. And I think like, this Met Opera is going to end in January. It's gotten terrible reviews. The dancers themselves were like, we don't like the show, which is so funny. Like, it's like, and that's the economy we live in. They're like, oh, I'm just taking a gig,
Well, of course, because you know how hard those gigs are to get these days.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's like got to be one of the most famous opera stages in the whole world, you know? Like, so it's a huge honor for them. But yeah, it's like business as usual has to screech to a halt, and if it has to happen at the Met Opera, boo fucking who, man? It's the Met Opera. Like, don't be so precious about it.
I agree, and I just feel like it's like I don't even really touch that often, the climate stuff, just because I talked with you when we...
Right, it's so depressing.
It's so demoralizing.
Right.
And I guess I'm like predisposed to feel a lot of grief. So then it's like when I start thinking about climate, I just like get stuck in this like cycle of loss, which is like, I guess it is true that the only constant is change. And is there some moral value? Like, the environment was destroyed in the past by an asteroid. Is it worse because we're doing it by our own hand to our own detriment? Like, I get stuck in this like nostalgia, sort of like samsara. Do you know what samsara is?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's like sort of like, I think it's longing for past karma or something, whatever. I get like stuck in this cycle where I think that there's like, I'll put a narrative importance on what we're doing that like I wouldn't put on the asteroids.
Right.
hitting the earth. But
Interesting.
regardless, the grief around climate stuff for me is so profound.
Well, you have kids, yeah, which is like, yeah.
But also just like the world as, not only for them, but like the world, this glorious, gorgeous thing we were
marble.
given, you know, in the Goldilocks zone, this narrow span of possibility where life could arise. And like, what are we going to do? We're just going to fucking throw it away for comfort.
Right, I know,
Do you know what
I know,
It's like the tragedy
for the comfort
of it.
of like 2,000 people too, not really like that many more people. I mean, this is a nice apartment, but I'm just saying, like, just kidding. But yeah, I like it is so myopic. It's so like when you think of like what we actually achieved through just like letting people spew carbon into the atmosphere and slaughter cows and stuff like that is like,
it's not, to me, I mean, is it nice to have a dishwasher?
yeah, oh yeah,
It's nice.
Yeah.
But is that worth trading the whole world for?
I don't think so. Yeah,
I don't think so either. But like I often, maybe you are not going to be in this camp, but often I get in arguments with men because they're like really dedicated to this concept of progress. Like we've made all this progress,
Right. This
and
is the trad
technology
wife.
will
Yeah.
save us.
Right.
And I just like, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, Ted Kaczynski, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's coming back around. No, I agree. I mean, like progress for progress' sake, growth for growth's sake. It's led us to the brink. But it's, I mean, when you talk to like one of the guys who did the action with me, Nate, he, you know him, he talks about like how the precipitous decline of like air quality, water quality, and stuff like that is going to radicalize people. It is going to bring people onto the side. And I'm kind of just telling people like, okay, you can either rebel now or in 5 years, but you will do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's going to become
what
unacceptable.
I don't get is like the elites, the wealthy ones. I know they've got their bunkers in New Zealand. I know they're building like corporate parks on the moon and shit. But like, and I know that Elon wants to go to Mars. But they're not so delusional that they really think that any of that's going to save them, do they?
I don't know, because I read this really great book called The Haves and the Have-Yots, and they did like a bit about bunkers. And just as a thought experiment, if you're going to go to a bunker in New Zealand, your pilot has to fly you there. And the pilot wants to bring their family, right? So you need to build a bunker for the pilot and his family.
Yeah.
And then when money is worthless, food will be the only thing.
Yeah.
And
how are you going to grow stuff?
Right. Like it's so, yeah, you're right. I think it's like, it's so nihilistic. And I think the bunkers and the moon stuff and like space exploration, which is not even, you're just going barely into space and coming right back down, is all an indication that the people who make the rules of society are so deeply flawed. And
dude, I don't know if I talked about this yet. But basically there was the guy who's obsessed, I could look it up. The guy who's obsessed with not aging.
Oh, Brian Johnson.
Yeah, and he just got like a girlfriend or something, and he hard launched their relationship on Instagram in literally the most tragic, like 500-word essay. And one line stuck out of my mind, which was like, what can I say? She's the puzzle piece that fits my puzzle. Like literally the most.
I know.
Like, and I was like, gross. Oh, right. This is what the billionaire class is like. Completely out of touch with reality.
Also, it's like
tragic as fuck.
I know.
Like, did he not think for a minute that everybody would laugh at him?
Everyone's a puzzle. You're one piece in my puzzle. You know, that's so like I am the center of the world.
It's just fucking gross. And like the PR, I just was like, oh, this person is a genius. This person has succeeded according to the strictures of what we consider success in our society. And I'm like, he's a fucking tragic joke.
I know. So I guess like mockery, like making, because like the one thing that they never can get, which is why you see like Elon obsessed with being funny, you know, like, or Jeff Bezos obsessed with being like fashionable and cool.
Or
like,
his muscles. I was like, Jeff, chill on the steroids, bro.
It's like doing steroids and like wearing like bomber jackets and stuff like that.
So awful.
So it's like, no, just like you guys are all geeks and nerds.
Yeah.
And if you accepted that, that'd be way more endearing.
And nobody fucked you in high school. Right. We get it.
So now you're fucking all of us in adulthood. So it's so annoying. It's like, because people have a really good sense of what's bullshit and what's real. I think like, you know, there's like a gut feeling, you know, when you look at something and it's bad. And when you see Brian Johnson saying he's going to live forever and like putting electrodes on himself,
his dick and his son's dick, he's put this is, to take it full circle, akin to pedophilia. He's putting electrodes on his son's dick. What these are the people who control the world.
I know. And it's like to monitor blood flow at night, and it's like, okay, so that's really fucking weird, but we have a media system that's bought out by these people so they can launder their worst impulses and be like, isn't this cool? This is part of a health craze.
And like they're trying to tell us, they're like, I mean, I don't know. I'm like stuck on this welfare queen thing, which like nobody even talks about anymore. But like these guys, let's just make a false equivalency. These guys are putting electrodes on their children's dicks. And then they're trying to tell us that the real problem in this country are like the illegals and welfare queens. Which is like, look, I have a slightly more conservative view on immigration simply because immigration into the country, it represses workers' wages who are from America originally. So whatever. There's a whole conversation to be had. I do not think this like cruel, destructive, violent way to deal with immigration is effective or helpful or anything.
It's also, I mean, like to your point, it just runs counter to what's actually happening, which is those people don't want to pay any taxes, and the rich people they want to put electrodes on dicks. They don't want to pay taxes. Do
you know what I mean? They want a fucking free ride. They want their PJs. They want to fly around the world. They want to take 2-minute flights. I mean, I wouldn't consider Kylie Jenner somebody who controls the world, but this bitch literally took a 2-minute private jet flight.
That's crazy. What is that, from like LA to
Laguna or some shit?
Like,
do you know what I mean?
To like LA County.
But like that's the but then I look at her and I'm sorry. That bitch is dumb as fuck.
I know,
do you know what I mean?
That's the other thing.
So I'm just like, tragic, how are these people? Because maybe it's just karmic. Like we want to think it's because they're smart or something, but like, are they just fucking lucky? Are they like slouching their way toward Bethlehem and bringing our world to its knees in the destruction just out of their fucking sheer stupidity?
All for nothing.
All for nothing. Oh my God, this is how you know shit's getting bad. I want to read you a poem.
Okay, all right, here we go.
I don't know if I'm actually going to do it. I could. But there's this like, it's about climate.
Okay,
that would be maybe, I feel like people get mad at me when it would be like literally the gayest thing I've ever done on the podcast would be to read you a poem.
All right.
But
how long is the poem?
It's pretty short. I'll show it to you. I'll preview it.
Okay.
Before I do it, but like it's the only explanation I've ever found that satisfied me around why climate change is happening. So here's how long it is.
All right. Whoa.
It's not. I mean, it's like would take me like maybe a minute and a half to read.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah.
Do you want me to read you this?
Fire away. Yeah. I don't want to. That's not so bad.
Okay. So it's called Nature, and I just want to put it out there that this was written like in 2018, so it was before AI was a huge deal. Okay. Maybe humans are the failed AI of nature. Maybe nature made something it thought would tend the garden. Maybe nature made something sexy to watch clean the pools with long butterfly nets and a sunburn. The retainers of nature. Now, mirror of Mercury and hell, that hot red bomb in your mouth, that sweet battleground on your tongue. It is the catastrophe of your mission. The wealthy with their outstanding educations and custom shoes and empty apartments floating above like Glinda, the ballad of media, the intellectuals almost shepherding evolution, falling asleep in their haunted paintings and unattainable poetry, all the dimensions of each person's being punk, restless in a loop. Sometimes I want to be taken into nothingness. I want to be burned with the gypsy moths and bindweed, run to exhaustion with the wildebeest. I don't want this phone. I want to kill God. Maybe humans are the complex systems of a natural order that must build and destroy itself in perpetuity. Blue chicory on the road sang the end of summer in a sandstorm of our passing. They gyrate and smile. What of our little duties to the architect? Our deep red blood, our lush tech, archangels limping in paradise.
Damn, that's good. I wonder, like, I can't tell if that's mournful or like a call to like fight back, you know? Right?
I think the thing is that like that's the choice is like it is it is a huge tragedy. One could either sequester oneself in mourning, which I am prone to do, or one could fight. Is one better than the other? I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
It all may pass away into nothingness, vanity of vanities.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's also, like, poetry is a good vehicle for it because you really can, your entire worldview can change based on, like, how much sleep you've had and if you've eaten that day. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, we are fucked.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we talked about this. I fell into like a years long, I wouldn't call it a depression. I would call it like a concentrated morass of despair.
Wow.
Where I basically couldn't function for a couple of years when I had an awakening around the urgency and the quickness with which the climate was going to make this planet uninhabitable.
Yeah. I mean, so then, like, you can be like, we're fucked, or we're fucked, you know? Like, you can kind of be like, I know things are going to change because they have to. Or you're like, it's all going to fall apart. You know, it's about, like, viewing it, like, versus, like, collapse versus, like, the necessary steps towards our collective liberation.
Or, like, like, possibility.
Right, exactly.
Like, maybe there is possibility here. It's hard for me to see, but I can't act otherwise. You know, I think that, like, I feel called to do a number of things. I would assume you also feel called, given the consequences of all of this.
I got arrested for the Med action, by the way.
You got arrested, but, like, also we've talked. I don't know if, like, I can cut this out if you don't want to have it on here, but, like, you know, family has gotten upset with you,
totally,
friends.
Yeah. I know. I think I even alluded to that at the beginning of the podcast. But yeah, no, there
have been consequences.
Right, absolutely. My relationship with my mother's not very good. You know what I mean? It's all very, like, because people, and I think this is probably what the most salient thing that I get to tell people is, like, the future that you planned your whole life for no longer exists, right? So in the future that they wanted for me, like, that they think I'm ruining, is not possible. Yeah. You know? So it's like, I'm not gonna live in a leafy suburb in the 2060s because that's not gonna be possible. You know what I mean? Like, or
it'll be possible for a very small group of people who have armed guards and a perimeter.
Exactly.
Where basically to make it look, to give you the illusion you're living in Pleasantville.
Yeah, Stepford Wives or like that Elysium. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like South Africa vibes. You know what I mean? Where there's, like, you know, broken glass on the top of, like, 14-foot walls. So you're by, like, laying it on the line now, by, like, accepting kind of a certain type of defeat for your life, you can move past it. And when you do make that step, you'll be amazed at the people that start flooding into your life, you know? Like, so yeah, it's kind of good. Yeah.
I mean, what a call to arms for all of us. But it's like, I do think that everybody has their role to play, you know, and the roles are all very different.
No, exactly. As long as you are of the opinion that this is not the correct path we're on, then I fuck with you. You know what I mean? And I feel like you are gettable. But if you are a moderate liberal, I consider you a mortal enemy. Yeah, because it's like, this is not sustainable. Okay, like your idea of, like, taking your kid to Breckenridge in 2032, the snow's not going to be there. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of, but yeah, that's kind of what I have to say. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for saying it. We're so glad to have you here. By we, I mean me.
Yeah, no, but, like, I'm looking forward to this getting published, and we should do it again.
Totally. Well, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
And a Happy New Year. Class dismissed. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.